Let me get situated here. Are we political here? Someone is asking. Yeah, it's about socialism, class struggle. All right, so with the thanks to the patrons and Buy Me a Coffee supporters out of the way, let's get into a couple of odds and ends, including the COVID update. And I have some bad news. Actually, let's just go right off of that right now. So Biobot, the website at biobot.io/data, biobot.io/data, did not have their government contract renewed. Unfortunately, it went to Verily, which is owned by Alphabet, which is the company that owns Google. We're going to talk about why that really may be a more pointed problem in just a minute. This is sort of the last glimpse of Biobot. I don't know if they're going to update this site at all. I really did like the site. It was very easy to read, and it was also pretty accurate according to some other things like the IHME true case estimate. So anyway, here's the regional update for Biobot. You can see that the three regions that are not the Northeast is that orange one, are kind of in a plateau around 400 to 500. That's a significant amount of COVID spread. Once you get into the 6, 7, 8, 900, you're in a full surge, and they're just shy of that. However, the Northeast, as of, let's see, this was last updated October 2nd from samples during the week of, samples collected during the week of September 25th. So this is a few weeks behind, and that's not good. But you could see that where it left off, the Northeast, a lot of population centers there were, it was near 800. So that's really not good. So Verily is going to be taking over the government contracts. So what are some of the issues with this? Well, here's a post on Twitter from Mike Herger. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. At Michael_HOERGER on Twitter. And this is an epidemiologist, and he's talking about, so you see in the chart at the top, Biobot in the blue versus Verily in the black, wastewater data. So basically, for people very new to this, you can track the level of various pathogens and other things in the wastewater. And this is a pretty reliable and fast updating, in other words, hospitalizations and deaths, cases they don't even really count anymore, but hospitalizations and deaths, those are lagging indicators. Those show up weeks after an outbreak. The wastewater, it's just, somebody gets infected, the virus multiplies in their body using their cells, and then it comes out in the wastewater, which is updated, multiple times a day as people relieve themselves. So why are these two charts so different is the major question. You can see that Verily, for example, was showing the BA1 or Omicron surge as about the same level as what we had last winter, which either means last winter was a lot worse than was previously thought, or, there's a few things there. But they're way off. They're not really, they both have surges in the same general place, but the shape is quite different. The extent of each surge is quite different. So he did some further analysis and pointed out in the lower post, here are the correlations among Biobot levels, Verily levels, and IHME true cases for the first of each month from January 2021 to April 2023. Biobot correlates 94% basically with IHME. Verily only correlates with an R of 0.67. So either Biobot is much better or Verily knows something that we don't, because Verily does not correlate with the IHME true cases really at all, whereas Biobot is extremely close. So are we getting a big step down in accuracy of the wastewater data, which is really the only thing left, the last thing left that we have to really rely on to see where there are outbreaks occurring? And, people should be masking now all the time anyway. Almost nobody is, but you should be. But as far as, trying to actually stay on top of this and monitor it and know when your area is in really high risk, like if your area is in low risk, yeah, maybe you can mask and go to that outdoor concert. If the spread is like virtually non-existent in your area, okay, yeah, maybe maybe that's a risk you can take. If your level is at 1,000, definitely stay home from the indoor concert, even if you are masked, I would say. You know what I'm saying? So now it's a lot harder to track things like that. And so what does the Verily new chart actually look like? Yeah, that's what it looks like. Real nice, huh? So you can see down along the bottom, basically what they're doing is they're taking all of the individual wastewater monitoring sites and they're giving them each a line. Incidentally, on the top one, before we get to the bottom one, on the top one, the area with the biggest breakout right now is in Maine, and then the second biggest is in Vermont. So again, we talked about the Northeast having a surge. Apparently, that northern New England rural area that is having some really big surges. We saw that also when we were looking at some of the countywide data a couple of streams ago. It might have been in the last stream, I can't remember. Anyway, if we look down at the bottom there's that longer timeline, and there's what we'll call the scribble chart of tracking the overall national pandemic levels. I don't think this is nearly as easy to read as Biobot, and I'm very disappointed. So again, who is Verily? And I want to thank Sparrow for pointing this out. Well, Verily is part of Alphabet Company, and this is a 2021 article from therealdeal.com about commercial real estate in New York. And the headline is, publicly traded firms now own $1.64 trillion of U.S. real estate. So $1,640 million of U.S. real estate. Google and Amazon are among the major tech companies snapping up properties. Let's read just the end of the article. Neither company, talking about some other things, tops the list of real estate value for publicly traded companies, though, and it's not even close. As of the most recent fiscal year, Walmart comes out on top with $116.9 billion worth of real estate, more than doubling Amazon's second place total of $57.3 billion. Alphabet, Google's parent company, ranks third at $49.7 billion, followed by Microsoft and AT&T. Companies have been taking advantage of low interest rates. Basically, you get loans with virtually no interest on them, and the falling cost of office properties in major cities brought on by the pandemic. These firms are also looking to invest some of their massive piles of cash in hand. So remember that phrase, brought on by the pandemic. Why? People were allowed to do remote work. Real estate, commercial real estate, started to plummet. There were empty office buildings and companies just walking away from their commercial leases, not needing the office space. Publicly traded companies are holding $2.7 trillion in cash equivalents, and short-term investments, S&P Global reports, an increase of more than 90% from the fourth quarter in 2011. Alphabet leads its peers in the category with holdings of $135.9 billion at the end of last quarter. So that's cash. But going back to this thing about these companies snapping up real estate, well, the reason, or part of the reason it was so cheap was the whole work at home, remote work thing. Well, now it seems like Alphabet owning some of that commercial real estate has a vested interest in having the pandemic be, quote, over. That is, the virus is still spreading, but there should be, according to people who want it to be over, there should be no recognition of that fact. There should be no public health intervention. Workers should not be accommodated to stay home and things like that. So now you have the people who got the government contract, at least the same parent company, doing the wastewater officially for the U.S., who the parent company has what I could say is definitely, in my opinion, a conflict of interest in terms of, they don't want another shutdown. They want butts in seats. They want the commercial real estate to be valuable because they own it. So, not sure really where we go from here. If we have accurate wastewater data, I will bring you updates as they come in.